I always thought that I knew the outdoors. I've hiked trails that stretched for hundreds of miles, spent countless nights under the stars, and chased sunrises with my camera. But my first hunting trip, it changed everything I thought I knew about what it means to be outdoors. Because when you're hunting, you're not just visiting nature, you're a part of it. And it will teach you things unlike any hike or backpacking trip ever could. Early fall in Colorado means vibrant aspens, crisp air, and silence. Early mornings that feel like the rest of the world is still sleeping. Nick, my partner, had been scouting in these mountains for months in preparation. But it was our first time out together, and my first time ever on a hunting trip. I expected an adventure. Long days spent hiking, the anticipation of coming across a herd, and hopefully, if we were lucky, a clean shot and meat that would feed us for the coming year. I figured, I'm outdoorsy. I'll be fine. But it turns out hunting has little to do with how many miles you can hike, but more about how still you can be and how perceptive you are of the world around you. And even then, like the majority of hunters in this unit this fall, you might still leave with little more than the hope for next year. For this trip, I felt as though I had the outdoors figured out. I knew how to navigate, I could read a topo map, filter water, or set up camp in the rain. I thought I was aware. I would occasionally spot tracks, catch the scent of pine, or notice the direction of the wind. I respected wildlife, practiced leave no trace, packed out every wrapper that I packed in. I even thought that I knew patience, because I'd spent full days on the trail alone. But unlike some of my other pursuits, hunting, I learned, isn't necessarily about moving through nature. It's about disappearing into it, and that's a completely different skill. And speaking of feeling like I know everything there is to know about the outdoors, I want to take a quick moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, who helps me actually understand how far, in what direction, and where I'm going next. When you're in the outdoors, every step can matter. Whether it's trail running before dawn, grinding through that long hike, or pushing deep into the backcountry on a multi-day trek or hunt. You need gear that you can trust. And that's why I use a SUUNTO Vertical 2, the ultimate adventure companion. With up to 65 hours of GPS tracking in the most accurate dual-band mode, I never worry about running out of power mid-route. This watch packs in more features than I could even begin to imagine, but first off is battery life. With up to 65 hours of GPS tracking in the most accurate dual-band mode, I never worry about running out of power mid-route or mid-week. And for everyday use, it can last up to 20 days as a smartwatch, so I can go further without thinking about the charger. But battery life only means so much if you can't see or use your watch. But SUUNTO's new 1.5-inch AMOLED display is bigger, brighter, and easier than ever to read, even in harsh sunlight or on exposed ridgelines, which makes it perfect for checking maps at a glance while you keep moving. And when the sun goes down, the built-in LED flashlight lights the way, whether I'm finding the trail, my gloves in the tent, or just navigating to camp. And speaking of navigating, what good would an expedition watch be without maps? Well, once again, SUUNTO has you covered, with free offline maps and dual-band GNSS positioning. I always know where I am, even when I'm without signal. From trail runs to long hikes to multi-day backpacking trips and even afternoons spent in the gym, the SUUNTO Vertical 2 is built to go the distance. It's durable, it's reliable, and it's always ready for the next adventure. So whether your next big adventure is taking you out to the mountains, the gym, or to bed for recovery, which I can relate to all too well these days, you can head down to the link in the description down below to learn more and to purchase your new SUUNTO Vertical 2 today. And thank you to SUUNTO for sponsoring today's video. When you're hunting, you learn just how loud you are. Every breath, every shift of fabric, every footstep, it all echoes. You start to notice how sound travels and how even the smallest breeze might give you away. I quickly went from watching nature to hearing it think. Out here, it's life and death. And that seems pretty obvious when you go on a hunting trip, but then there's the weight of it. When you're carrying a tag and a rifle or a bow, the stakes out here are real. You're no longer an observer. You're participating in a tradition that existed long before any of us were alive. And whether you take that shot or not, that awareness changes how you see every living thing out there. And you start to understand what it means to take a life and how connected we actually all are to one another and to nature. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that I thought I knew patience, but I really had no idea. Walking a long trail or biking for hours at a time is nothing in comparison to the hours that you might spend sitting in the same spot waiting for an animal to walk by. Days, even, if you're anything like us. And you still might not see anything. There's no instant gratification, no summit view or waterfall at the end of the trail. But weirdly enough, after a while, I mostly stopped caring, because somewhere between the silence and the stillness, there was peace. And I realized that not getting what we came out here for might actually be the point this year. Out there, we felt like anything but in charge. We were just animals, following tracks, reading the wind, and searching for what we might think would lead us to our ultimate outcome. And it was humbling, and it was grounding. And it reminded us that we aren't just in nature, but that we are nature. Since returning from this trip, I have noticed myself wanting to move differently through the outdoors. Hiking slower, paying attention to scent, wind, and sound in ways that I never did before. Even when I'm just camping, I've started to notice the tiny things in the same way that I did on those mornings spent on the hillside. And while hunting won't replace my own love for hiking or backpacking, it has already deepened my appreciation for the outdoors and all of the activities that I participate in out there. It allowed me to reflect and realize how connected everything is, how fragile everything is, and how much more I really have to learn.